I was standing in the grocery store the other day just trying to grab a few basics for the week, and I couldn't help but notice something unsettling. The shelves looked full, but the prices told a different story. A bag of rice that used to be affordable felt suddenly out of reach. Cooking oil, the kind we all use every single day, had quietly crept up in price again. And here's the thing, most people around me didn't even seem to notice. They were rushing through, tossing items in their carts, but I kept thinking, if you haven't noticed this yet, you will soon. Because these small jumps add up, and before long, families are forced to make tough choices about what they can and can't afford. What really shook me was spotting two items that I never thought would be at risk. Things we take for granted, like toilet paper and even coffee. Yes, coffee. Imagine starting your morning without it because the price doubled overnight. That moment made me realize smart families aren't waiting for the next surge. They're quietly stocking up now before the rest of us catch on. And today, I want to show you exactly what they're buying. A few weeks ago, I walked into my local grocery store on what I thought would be a normal errand. Just a quick trip, grab some staples, head home. But the moment I stepped through those automatic doors, something felt off. The store looked the same. The shelves were lined, but the atmosphere was different. You know that subtle tension you can feel when people are quietly unsettled? That's what I noticed. I headed straight for the rice aisle. Rice is a staple in my house. It's cheap, filling, and versatile. But when I reached for the bag I usually buy, I froze. The price tag had jumped again, not by pennies, but by a noticeable chunk. I actually pulled out my phone to check old receipts, just to make sure I wasn't imagining it. And sure enough, the same bag had cost me almost 30% less just a few months ago. I stood there for a moment, watching other shoppers. Most of them didn't even glance at the price. They tossed bags into their carts like it was nothing. And I thought, do they realize what's happening? Or are they just hoping it won't get worse? Then I walked over to the cooking oil section. That's when the shock really hit me. The shelf was half empty, and the bottles that were left had price tags that made me wince. I turned to a store worker who was restocking nearby and asked, "Hey, is this just today, or have prices been climbing like this for a while?" He gave me a tired smile and said, "Honestly, it's been creeping up every week. People don't notice until it's too late." That conversation stuck with me because he was right. Most of us don't notice until the shelves are bare or the prices are unbearable. And by then it's too late to prepare. I kept walking and I saw something that really shook me, the coffee section. Now, coffee isn't just a drink. For many families, it's part of their daily rhythm, their sanity. But the prices were climbing fast and some of the cheaper brands were already gone. I thought about how many mornings start with that cup of coffee and how disruptive it would be if families suddenly couldn't afford it. And then, almost like deja vu, I turned down the paper goods aisle. Toilet paper. Remember 2020? Shelves stripped bare, people panicking, paying ridiculous amounts online. I saw the prices inching upward again and I thought, here we go. Round two, walking through that store, I realized something important. Smart families aren't waiting for the headlines. They're not waiting for the panic. They're quietly stocking up now before the surge becomes obvious. They're the ones who will walk into the store during the next shortage and feel calm because they already have what they need at home. And here's the thing. I want you to be one of those families. Not the ones scrambling, not the ones paying double, but the ones who saw the signs early and acted. Because if you're watching this, you're already ahead of the curve. You're paying attention. You're proactive. And that's what sets you apart. I'm not saying this to scare you. I'm saying it because I've lived through the shock of empty shelves and sticker prices that made me question how I'd feed my family. I don't want you to go through that. I want you to feel empowered, prepared, and confident. So when I share these 15 items with you today, I want you to think of them not as a list, but as a lifeline. Each one is a small step towards security. Each one is a way of saying, I'm not going to be caught off guard again. Because here's the truth. The families who prepare now will be the ones who thrive later. And you, by being here, by listening, by caring, you're already proving you're one of them. After that grocery store visit, I couldn't shake the feeling that something bigger was happening. It wasn't just about rice or cooking oil, it was about patterns. Prices don't rise randomly, they rise in waves. And if you've ever watched those waves closely, you know they almost always start quietly, with small jumps that most people ignore before crashing down hard on families who weren't prepared. That night, I sat down at my kitchen table with my receipts spread out in front of me. I compared them to older ones I had tucked away in a drawer. And the numbers told a story, steady increases creeping upward month after month. It wasn't dramatic, but it was relentless. And I thought, if this is happening here, it's happening everywhere. So I started researching. I dug into reports about supply chains, inflation, and global food markets. I read articles about droughts affecting grain harvests, shipping delays pushing up costs, and even labor shortages that made basic goods harder to produce. And the more I read, the clearer it became. These weren't isolated problems, they were connected. Think about it. When fuel prices rise, transportation costs rise. When transportation costs rise, everything from flour to canned vegetables gets more expensive. When global demand spikes, local shelves feel the pressure. It's a domino effect, and families are the ones who pay the price. I also noticed something else. Certain items were always the first to show stress. Staples like rice, flour, and cooking oil, everyday essentials like toilet paper and cleaning supplies, and morale boosters like coffee and sugar. These weren't luxuries. They were the backbone of daily life. And here's the part that really surprised me. While most people were focused on flashy shortages like eggs or meat, smart families were quietly stocking up on the basics, not in a panic, not in bulk that emptied shelves, but steadily, week by week. They were building a cushion against the next surge. I realized that's the difference between reacting and preparing. Reacting means you wait until the headlines scream shortage and then rush to the store only to find empty shelves. Preparing means you notice the patterns early, you take small steps, and you protect your family before the panic sets in. And what I found surprised me. It wasn't just about food, it was about the psychology of preparedness. Families who prepare aren't living in fear, they're living in freedom. They don't worry about whether they can afford cooking oil next month because they already have it. They don't panic when coffee prices spike because they stocked up when it was affordable. That realization changed the way I look at my own pantry. I stopped thinking of it as just storage and started seeing it as security. Every bag of rice, every jar of peanut butter, every roll of toilet paper became a small act of empowerment. And I want you to feel that too. Because if you're watching this, you're already paying attention. You're already noticing the signs. You're already smarter than most shoppers who breeze past the price tags without a second thought. So here's what I did. I made a list, not of luxury items, not of things that might or might not matter, but of the 15 essentials that smart families are stocking before prices surge again. These are the items that give you stability, peace of mind, and resilience. And in the next part of this video, I'm going to walk you through each one, not just what they are, but why they matter, how to store them, and how they fit into the bigger picture of preparedness. Because this isn't about hoarding, it's about being thoughtful, intentional, and proactive. So let's dive in, because the sooner you start, the sooner you'll feel that sense of calm that comes from knowing your family is ready. So let's talk about the real items. And I don't want to just rattle off a list. I want to share how I noticed each one, why it matters, and what could happen if supply tightens. Because these aren't just products, they're pieces of security. Item 1, rice. I noticed rice prices creeping up when I compared receipts. It's subtle but steady. Why it matters. Rice stretches meals, feeds families, and keeps hunger at bay. If supply tightens, families relying on it daily will feel the pinch immediately. My recommendation, buy in bulk when prices dip, store in airtight containers. Emotional angle, rice is comfort food. It's the foundation of family dinners. Item two, cooking oil. I saw half empty shelves and rising prices. Why it matters. Oil is in almost every recipe. Without it, cooking gets tough. If supply tightens, expect rationing or sudden spikes. My recommendation, keep a few extra bottles tucked away. Rotate them. Emotional angle. Oil is invisible until it's gone. Then every meal feels harder. Item three, flour. I noticed flour doubling in price during past shortages. Why it matters. Bread, pancakes, chapati. It's freedom in the kitchen. If supply tightens, families lose the ability to make cheap filling food. My recommendation, store in sealed buckets or jars. Emotional angle. Flour means independence. You can feed your family even if shelves are bare. Most people aren't paying attention to this, but the one coming up next is different. This is where things get interesting. Item four, coffee. I noticed empty spots on shelves where cheaper brands used to be. Why it matters. Coffee isn't just caffeine, it's routine, morale, sanity. If supply tightens, families will feel it emotionally before financially. My recommendation, stock up on your favorite brand now. Emotional angle. Imagine mornings without coffee. It's not just a drink, it's stability. Item five, toilet paper. I noticed prices inching upward again, deja vu from 2020. Why it matters. Hygiene, dignity, comfort. If supply tightens, panic buying returns fast. My recommendation, keep a steady reserve, not a mountain. Emotional angle. Toilet paper is about peace of mind. It's the small things that matter. But the one coming up next is different because it's not just about food, it's about family security. Let's pause for a moment because I don't want this to feel like panic. That's not what we're doing here. We're not hoarding. We're not reacting out of fear. We're preparing smart. The bigger trend here is simple. Prices rise in waves, shelves empty in cycles, and families who prepare early ride those waves calmly. This isn't about paranoia. It's about peace of mind. Think of it this way. When you add one or two extra items to your cart each week, you're not just buying food, you're buying stability. You're buying freedom from the stress of sudden shortages. And if you're here listening, you're already ahead of the curve. You're already smarter than most shoppers who don't notice the signs. So if this resonates with you, stick with me. Subscribe if you want more practical strategies. Not hype, not fear, but honest preparation, because this is about staying calm, staying ready, and staying ahead. Now let's turn to the items that matter most. These are the ones where urgency rises, because when they tighten, families feel it immediately. I noticed jars disappearing faster than usual. Why it matters. Protein, calories, comfort food. If supply tightens, kids lose a staple, adults lose quick meals. Recommendation, keep a few jars in rotation. Emotional angle, peanut butter is survival disguised as comfort. I noticed UHT cartons selling out during past shortages. Why it matters, kids, baking, nutrition. If supply tightens, families scramble for alternatives. Recommendation, store powdered or UHT milk. Emotional angle, milk is childhood security. It's breakfast, it's comfort. I noticed sanitizer prices skyrocketing during health scares. Why it matters, hygiene, health, safety. If supply tightens, families risk illness. Recommendation, stock soap, detergent, sanitizer. Emotional angle, cleanliness is dignity. It's protecting your loved ones. I noticed subtle price hikes, often overlooked. Why it matters, flavor, preservation, morale. If supply tightens, meals become bland, preservation harder. Recommendation, buy in bulk, store dry. Emotional angle, salt is survival. It's the difference between food and nourishment. This is where things get critical because these aren't just items, they're anchors of family life. So here's the mindset I want you to carry. Calm preparedness. We don't stock up because we're scared. We stock up because we're smart. We stay ahead, not afraid. Every bag of rice, every jar of peanut butter, every roll of toilet paper is a small act of empowerment. It's saying, my family will be okay. So take this list, start small, and build steadily. And remember, preparation isn't paranoia, it's peace of mind. If this helped you, share it with someone who needs it, because together we can stay ready, calm, and confident.